Welcome to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends, the podcast where we explore life, career, relationships, and pop culture through a Christian conservative perspective. Each episode, we dive into deep topics that matter most to us women, from navigating your career with grace and confidence to watering meaningful relationships grounded in faith. We're here to empower you to embrace your femininity and stand firm in your beliefs. We'll also tackle the latest in pop culture, discussing how they align or clash with our values. Let's uncover the truth and encourage each other to live boldly and authentically. So whether you're at home or on your commute, get ready for some fabulous conversations. Grab your teacup, pour yourself some tea. Come on, girlies, we're changing culture. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy! Hello, you are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I am Mal, your gal pal. Welcome back. I am super happy to be back. It has been a minute, but I'm back. I'm back to be in front of this beautiful mic. Mwah. I'm back. I'm happy to be back in front of you guys. Mwah. And just so much to discuss today. But before that, if you're new to this podcast, I'm talking about pop culture. This is a TCAP where I talk about pop culture. Let me take this scrunchie off. That looks silly. Where we are, me and sometimes my friends, a lot of times I have friends on, but today's episode I don't. Talking about pop culture from the Christian perspective. And, you know, I might give some takes that you're like, or I might give some takes you're like, you know what, I hadn't heard that perspective. And I'm so glad you said that. Let me subscribe and support. So that's what's happening. And if you have not already, check out some of my previous episodes. I had some friends on discussing what it means to be a Christian in the workforce, essentially kind of discussing a lot of podcasts similar to this. The hosts talk a lot about motherhood for women, talk a lot about motherhood and homemaking and how to be a good wife, but that's not everybody's destiny. Some of us are not in that season yet. I just really don't see anything about those of us who have to go off to work, those of us who may never get married, so we have to work for the rest of our lives. How do we still show up in the workforce? How do we still glorify God if our life doesn't look that way? So I wanted to get some different guests on and kind of just talk about that. And it was a great series. I really liked it. I double listened to some of the episodes, and I think you should listen to them as well and learn some things. So I guess let's get into the episode. We're talking a little bit about First Timothy. I asked you guys on Instagram if I should talk about some of the things that I'm learning in my First Timothy Bible class. It's really a Bible study. As I mentioned, and I'm going to do a series on, I am joining a PCA church, a Presbyterian Church of America church. And that's not at all how I grew up. And I'm really excited. The church puts such a focus on scripture and knowledge, and it's really not fluffy. I wouldn't say there's anything fluffy about it. And a lot of the churches that I visited and went to or even been a part of are very fluffy. Do so another thing I've talked to someone about this, is when you realize that you have been deceived or doing something wrong for so long, you want everyone to know. And I'm working on being humble and maybe that's just not what God has for XYZ right now, and not be cocky, I know better. But I just personally, what I'm saying is I wanted to stop going to churches that were 10 reasons God loves you, and then list 10 reasons and throw in a scripture, maybe 2 scriptures if they're feeling real biblical, and call it a day. I wanted to stop going to churches like that. I wanted to go somewhere where it was very scripture heavy and meat heavy. So anyway, long story short, I go to a church like that now, and I'm joining the church. I actually have my interview on Sunday, so the Sunday before this comes out, I have my interview. So I'm really excited. But actually, guys, there's something that I read that it's just really good, especially as someone who's single. And I'm turning 31 at the end of the month. And there's just some things that I think the church just doesn't talk about. And like a lot of times single women are just kind of like left to the side and no one really cares about us. And the Bible is just not like that at all. The Bible cares about us. And there are things for us as single Christian women, a way that we can glorify God. But okay, I'll get to that. So I'm talking about that. I'm talking about Teen Vogue absorbing into a big Vogue. Talking about what's going on with Christians in Nigeria, and Nicki Minaj speaking out about that. Let's see what else. Oh, and then I don't know if you guys remember, OG listeners remember the weird science section. I saw something, actually I saw it maybe like a month or so ago, but I'm just now able to talk about it. I saw something very fascinating and I would love you guys' opinion on it. And I want to share my opinion, of course. So this is just like this is an overview of what I'm going to be discussing today. And before that, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by the Pink Rose. And the Pink Rose is my jewelry store. Every piece that I'm wearing is from the Pink Rose. Their pieces are timeless, feminine, and elegant. So you can see all of the pieces are tarnish free and hypoallergenic. The pieces that I'm wearing, you can wear all day, every day. And I do pretty much. So right now, the 3 pieces that I'm really featuring are the Esther Rose necklace, this necklace right here, and then these earrings here, Fila, and then this bracelet that is being choked by my Apple Watch, but this bracelet that matches these earrings. So these are the 3 things that I'm really pushing right now. And they're beautiful and they're very classy, and the color is a soft pink that you can kind of wear year round. So I'm also doing a 10% discount for Other Girls listeners. So the code is OtherGirls10. So you'll get 10% off if you go to shopthepinkrose.com and just check it out. And that's what the show is sponsored by. Okay, so let's get into first, I want to tell you. So I went to the Jonas Brothers concert, and growing up, I loved Jonas. I was a Joe girl. What were you guys? Were you a Joe, Nick, Kevin, Ben? I was a Joe girl. I loved the Jonas Brothers. And just really quick, if you have not been to one of their concerts in this hometown tour, you totally should if they're coming to your town. And if not, maybe make it a girls trip and like go to another town and see it together. I actually ended up going by myself because nobody wanted to go with me. And then I had 2 friends said that they would go, but then like the day came and they hadn't bought their tickets and they were going to buy their ticket. Anyway, it was a mess. And then another one of my friends he was like, oh, I didn't know you were going. I'm going with some other friends, so we'll meet up after. Anyway, the point is, I was by myself. But what I enjoyed a lot is like I was able to just have fun by myself, and then the girl beside me, we actually had a really good time. We were like dancing together, and she was so sweet. I really liked her. I wish I had gotten her number because she brought her boyfriend who could not care less. Actually, I was sitting beside another girl, and I was actually sitting beside 2 couples, which is, and the boys could not care less. And, maybe I'm just like, I'm really trying not to judge. Maybe I'm just like weird, but why bring them? Like, I think that was almost mean. Like, they did not want to be there. So, like, just go by yourself. I don't know. I didn't understand that. But anyway, me and homegirl to my left, we had such a great time. And I just want to talk about 2 things. I have a docket now, you guys, so help me focus. I want to talk about 2 things. Number 1, the song Move Along. All American Rejects, open for them. The song Move Along by All American Rejects. Really, like a spiritual moment. I was thinking about like some of the lyrics. Even when all hope is gone, move along, move along. Oh, so good. I will say, they were a little more raunchy than I thought they were going to be, but that's just my bad. But I mean, they were fine for me as an adult. A little more raunchy than I thought. But it was so good. And then, obviously, at the end they played Gives You Heck, and everybody got up and was dancing. And, well, you see my face, that song. But yeah, the Move Along thing, I was like, you know what? Like, trying times right now. We're living in a crazy world. We're living in a world where things are not necessarily going the way that we want them. But you know what, you guys? Even when all hope is gone, just move along. You just got to keep going and, pray and hope that it gets better. And if it does not get better here, it will be better in heaven. Like, that's something that I have really been holding on to. Like, you know what? Even if it just does not, things just don't improve here on earth, it will be so much better in heaven. So just keep moving along. even when all hope is gone. Okay, so the last thing I want to say was actually two more things. The second last thing I want to say is when they played When You Look Me in the Eyes, they brought the whole family out, and it was just really, they recreated their living room. It was really beautiful. The mom used to tour doing sign language ministry. She's part of sign language ministry. They actually met at a Christian Bible college, their parents. And the mom was doing sign language ministry, so she did sign language to When You Look Me in the Eyes, and then the dad sang a little bit of it too. I mean, at least I cried. Also, if I ever get married, that's the song I want to walk down the aisle to. So it was just like so beautiful, and like everybody, and Frankie came out and everybody came out together, and it was just like, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And last thing I want to say is like, I love when everyone is together and we're all like singing a song, or, those little tiny, here's another example, like a tiny moment when, you're like at, let's say this happened to me in line at a gas station once. Like this person was like taking forever, and then you just kind of look over to that person, like, and you both make eye contact, and like you're on the same page, like this person. And I don't know, something about like when we as humans like come together, is that I just like, yeah, it's pretty cool to be a human. Like just moments like that are just, I don't know, I love that. So even so, before the Jonas Brothers came out, in between they played Sweet Caroline, which, so also funny story. Growing up, Sweet Caroline was just like a North Carolina song. So I thought, I don't know why, but I thought Sweet Caroline was like another, like a lot of people in North Carolina are named Caroline because of North Carolina. And I just thought like Sweet Caroline was just like a reference to North Carolina. So like I remember in college, this is how long I thought this. I remember in college I was at a basketball game and they started playing Sweet Caroline. And I'm sitting, I'm looking, I'm like, how do people know this? Like it's about North Carolina. And it just occurred to me that like that's not what it is. Because I only really heard, also another background, I was not allowed to listen to secular music growing up until high school. So I only really heard Sweet Caroline at like sports stuff. So when we would go to Bobcats, throwback if you remember Bobcats, when we go to Bobcats games and stuff like that, I would hear Sweet Caroline. So I just thought it was like a part of North Carolina. Anyway, so like we were singing Sweet Caroline, like the whole group, like the whole stadium, and the lights were on, and I just was like looking around like, look at us as humans coming together, like bum bum bum. I loved it. It was great. So anyway, that is my just recap of that. I wanted to share those opinions, those thoughts I had going to the concert. Okay, so I asked you guys if I should share some of the reflections and stuff, and you said yes from First Timothy. So let's do that real quick. If you can open your Bible, just joking. So First Timothy chapter 2. It is a very controversial verse, very controversial section, and if you're listening, you might disagree. And you have every right to comment, let me know your thoughts or whatever, but I'm going to read what the Bible says, and then I'm going to read like something in like the Bible class that we talked about. Okay, here we go. So First Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 through 14. Likewise, also that women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel, with modesty and self-control, not with braided hair and gold, or pearls or costly attire, but with what is proper for women who profess godliness with good works. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. Adam was formed first and then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived and became a transgressor. So that is what we studied. Honestly, this was a couple weeks ago at this point. And something that like has not left my mind is like, I think about this all the time. And okay, so verse 11, let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. So let me back up. So, women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel with modesty, self-control, not with braided hair, gold, pearls, or costly attire, but with what is proper for women to profess godliness with good works. Okay, so when you hear that, I feel like that's not controversial. Sure, we should not be showing off our wealth. We should not be seductive. Like when we are attending church, that's not our role, is to be intentionally drawing attention to us. Are there times where you might draw attention to yourself? Sure, but like you're not supposed to be intentional about that. I feel like we have no problem. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I feel like that is where things start to get a little, ooh. And when we kind of like broke it down, it is essentially saying let a woman learn quietly. So respectfully, you're staying in your lane. You, as a woman, God has called us to different things than men. And it's okay. As women, we are more nurturing. You guys know. So let a woman learn quietly, staying in, so the way to look at it is staying in your lane respectfully with all submissiveness. And we get like submissiveness is like such a but one thing that when we were breaking it down, another way to say submissive is like active, disciplined composure. Yeah, let that sink in. Active, disciplined composure. That I just think about that all the time. And when I'm really feeling down or like I'm just trying to understand like what's going on in life in the world, like that's just the active discipline composure just like comes to mind, like trying to not freak out, which is something that like I struggle with. So let me go to, okay, so this is an inductive study of First Timothy. Inductive, let me tell you what that really means. I wrote it down. So it is essentially like these, it's a Sophron study. So it is like, a practice of self-regulating, self-control, having emotional stability. Like essentially it's like, trying your goal is to learn. Okay, I feel like I'm not explaining this properly, but whatever. In the next couple of years I'll be able to like do this better. But essentially like it is just like learning the Bible. Like I just don't know how to describe, and I want everyone listening to like is like fulfilled and like to feel like as whole as I do when it comes to this. So I'm not like explaining it properly, but essentially when you do like regular Bible studies, I feel like it's very like it's just not as in depth. I was in a Bible study and I remember one of the like topics was how to be better friends or like how to make friends, which is fine. Like we should know, like it is good to learn how to make friends, but like it wasn't really like, I don't know how to express it, but this is just so much better. Actually studying the Bible, and the Bible is so interesting. I mean, it is fascinating. And like I said, this is just, to me, it's so fulfilling. Anyway, let me just get to the meat of this. So it's saying that what's an example of a godly woman's good works? Because that's what it talks about. Let me pull First Timothy 2, verse da 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 da. Okay. But what is proper for women who profess godliness with good works? So this is something for all of us. I don't care. You don't have to be married. You don't have to have kids. Some of the things, a woman who fears the Lord, and that comes from Proverbs 31:30. They submit to rulers. They're obedient and ready for every good work, and they devote themselves to good work. Some of the good works include hospitality, being courteous, and being fruitful. And some of the verses that the question is, what are examples of godly women's good character, i.e. obedience, submission, listening quietly, etc.? Also read Proverbs 31:30, 1 Timothy 5:10, Titus 1:2, verse 14, 3:1, 8, and 14. So, and these are just kind of like describing like what are the good works. Like when we say good works, what does it mean? Submitting to rulers and authorities, obedient, ready to do every good work, devoted to your good works, like hospitality, someone who fears the Lord. And this just really, I mean, I don't know if it's like impacting any of you. But it really impacted me, so I just wanted to share. I highly recommend everyone try to go to a Bible study where you like actually read the Bible, and you go through a book of the Bible. I just, like I said, it's been so fulfilling for me, and I'm in like not the greatest season of my life at this time, but I feel like I'm not spiraling as bad as I could have. And I think a lot of it is just because like I feel rooted in Christ, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. And like I said, like I just truly feel like if things just don't get better, like I hope they do, but if things just don't get better for me, I know, like I am very confident that like they will be better in heaven. Like I will be happy in heaven, even if like superficial, artificial happiness isn't heaven here. It is for me in heaven, and I think that that's been good for me. So yeah. Okay, transitioning. A group of people who are also thinking that, which also, it's so crazy because I think about like what I'm going through right now. Realistically, just isn't as bad as like what millions of other people are going through, and especially people in Christians, specifically in Nigeria. And it's just like they have such hope in heaven, and it just, why can't I, type of thing. So like it just, that putting things in perspective. Anyway, so the world notices the persecution of Nigerian Christians. This is from the Genocide Watch. The world notices persecution of Nigerian Christians, according to a report issued in August by the International Society of Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, an African non-governmental group that documents human rights violations. In the first 7 months of this year alone, more than 7,000 Christians were killed in Nigeria. Christians of various denominations and moderate Muslims regularly die at the hands of Boko Haram, Fulani militants, and other violent actors. Numbers vary and are difficult to verify, but between 2009 and 2023 in Nigeria, at least 52,000 Christians were killed, 18,500 abducted and unlikely to survive, and more than 20,000 churches and Christian schools have been attacked. And finally, this is getting some mainstream attention. I actually do want to have someone on specifically to discuss this, and then kind of like, what do we do as American Christians here? Like, how do we help our brothers and sisters in Nigeria? So if you or someone you know, if you're listening, that can discuss this, have some extra information, please let me know. I'd love to have you on my platform so we can kind of like talk about this. And yeah, so I think this is just something that it's sobering in the sense of like, we're really like, and my mom says it all the time. My mom is actually the missions director for her church. So she goes to other countries on mission trips, and then she does stuff in the U.S., mission directors. And she always says, she also teaches a class at her church's Bible college. And she always says, like, one of the best things about America is we can practice Christianity. We can worship freely. You go to other countries and that just is not the case. And we can say that there are social consequences, and there are. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like sometimes, there's certain places where you don't feel welcome or things like that. But like, the fact of the matter is, like, we're not being hunted down by 52,000, 20,000 churches and Christian schools have not been attacked. Like, we are very blessed here in America. And I pray that it continues to be that way. And the only way we can continue for it to be that way is for Christians to step up and, continue to run for office. Because anyway, that's another conversation. So it truly puts things in perspective. Like, there are people who are literally killed for their belief in Jesus, that Jesus is the Lord and Savior. That's crazy. And then it makes you think, like, in your personal life, when things happen, are you standing up or are you being quiet? Like, when the conversation comes up, like, are you representing Christ? If they can stand up in this thing, am I able to stand up? If a friend makes a comment that like is completely contradictory to the word of God, am I able to stand up if something happens, So yeah, so that's something to be praying about. I do want to get more in depth in this in a episode just focused on that. But, for those who don't know, that's something that's going on. And thankfully, President Trump has decided to address it. And I think he's going to be doing some things where a lot more people have been talking about it. And someone who talked about it is Nicki Minaj, which I did not see coming. Let me read to you what Trump said and then what Nicki Minaj said, and then we're going to kind of discuss that and the response. So Trump said, quote, Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. Quote, and this is what Nicki Minaj said. Reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion. We don't have to share the same belief in order for us to respect each other. Numerous countries all over the world are being affected by this horror, and it's dangerous to pretend we don't notice. Thank you to the president and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer. End quote. Which is amazing. And then the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, thanked Nicki Minaj and said, using your platform to speak out in defense of Christians being persecuted, and then invited her to the U.S., which is like crazy timeline. And I'm really happy that she's recognizing it and it's getting mainstream attention. What I want to talk about though is some of the responses. This person says, Nicki Minaj really managed to disappoint me over and over again since last year. Sometimes her choices and the way she acts is just insane. Supporting Donald Trump is crazy. Another person, millions of fans can't feed their families today due to the government shutdown, and Nicki Minaj using her platform to praise Donald Trump. What a weird AB, another fan wrote. Tons of people, I saw it on Twitter Live, tons of people were like coming at her. And I think this goes to like a huge problem that I hope one day we'll find a solution for. You can support and be concerned about multiple things at once. Whenever I would go to like marches or protests, people, well, you don't care about XYZ. No, at this moment, I'm at this march to support XYZ. You have no idea what I am doing afterwards. Maybe I'm actually going to a foster symposium and adopting 15 kids. You have no idea. People don't, like, that is the most frustrating and annoying thing about today's society. And I don't understand why people think like that. Like, you can be grateful that President Donald Trump spoke up about Nigeria and wants to do something to help the Nigerian Christians. And you cannot support his decision to do XYZ. I do not understand. Like, my brain cannot comprehend why people think that, like, you support this one thing, so that means you support 15 other random things. Or like you compliment this one person, so that means you think everything they said was okay. My brain just does not understand that. And I just, where did this come from? Why do people do that? The only thing I think of, trying to think through this rationally, maybe there are people who do that. Like, this person cannot support X, Y, and Z because they did one thing wrong. And like, they think everybody thinks that way. But like, if you, you are doing this one thing right, I will appreciate that. Thank you. There are people who I don't like 90% of their politics, but I'll use the pro-life issue, for example, but they're pro-life. So I'm grateful for their voice in the pro-life movement, but everything else, I don't agree with. And I can still, have a conversation with them. I can still like them. I can still break bread with them. I just don't understand, this person is one thing that you don't like, and you're just like, oh, that's it. / the idea that you are grateful for this one thing this one person did, and now you're evil. My brain just does not comprehend this. Where does this come from? Why do people think like that? And it does seem like it's only one side. I don't like to be that person, but it does seem like it's only that one side. I sometimes listen to what's going on the left, and one thing that I feel are constantly talking about is not constantly, but lately they're talking a lot about, especially after the election last year, they talked a lot about forgot the term that they used, but it was essentially the idea that you have to be perfect. You have to have every single perfect belief to be on the left, or they kick you out. That's how a lot of people on the left were feeling, especially after the election last year. Now, I doubt they feel that way now because, God bless this country, but that's what they were saying. And I feel that's part of this. If you don't have this one correct belief that they have created in their head, but this one specific thing, then you're out. And it just irks me so much. But yeah, so takeaways. We need to be praying for our fellow Christians in Nigeria. If you know of anything tangible we can do, anybody that's donating, I don't know, other than to pray. I don't know what we can do here as Americans that are also kind of going through our own things, but also want to be loving and compassionate and help our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. If you guys know what we can do, let me know. Please let me know. Reach out to me, email me, leave in the comments or whatever. That's the biggest takeaway. And then the second thing is that I think a takeaway from the story, just this big overall story, is it's okay to be grateful and appreciative about one thing that someone does, even if you don't agree with everything else. It's okay. I don't you're not less of a warrior or whatever you want to call yourself just because you are grateful for this one thing. You don't have to be perfect. That's something, and this is just a side note, when it comes to politics, I think a lot of people, especially the last couple of years, you have to fit in this one specific box to call yourself this one thing. And sure, there are certain not requirements, but there are certain things that kind of do represent a specific type of political ideology. But there are some things that might not fit in that box, and that's okay too. Your beliefs and values as Christians should come from the Bible, and some of the things might not completely perfectly align with every single thing that you see in front of you right now. Also, a lot of our beliefs and values come from our experiences. I think it should be rooted in the Bible, but I also don't think we should discount our experiences and forget that we live in a sinful world. I think, our overarching values should come from the Bible, but like the implementing policy things that I think come from the Bible, as well as like our life experiences, and remembering that in this fallen world, we're surrounded by humans, and humans are not perfect. So systems, policies, all these things will not be perfect either. So yeah, that's just like a reminder on that. I think there's like two more stories and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, let's see here. Yes, we can talk in depth about this. Let's talk a little bit about Teen Vogue folding into regular Vogue. This article is from Fashion Weekly. Vogue will be absorbed into Vogue.com. Editor-in-Chief Varisha Sharma will lead the publication, which will be overseen by Chloe Mail. In a surprise twist, Teen Vogue is undergoing another major shift. The youth-focused Condé Nast title will be integrated into Vogue.com, according to Vogue Business. While continuing to report on a slate of cultural and career-focused topics, Teen Vogue will now be overseen by Chloe Mail and the Vogue's recently appointed head of editorial content. Global Vogue Runway and Vogue business director Nicole Phelps has also been promoted to run Vogue's fashion features team with transition. Current editor-in-chief Varisha Sharma, who's led the title since 2021, will be leaving her position in Condé Nast as a whole. So let's talk about something. I did a quick little video on this, and I've talked about this in the past, but I kind of want to go a little bit more in depth and share some thoughts on two things about this. First thing, I've mentioned it before. I'll continue to mention it until we can get this remedied. There is not a lot of things for teenage tween girls. There are no longer iCarlys, Hannah Montanas, Lizzie McGuire's. A lot of times young girls are watching cartoons and like more childlike 5 to 8-year-old TV shows, and then they are springboarded into Euphoria in middle school or Riverdale in middle school. And that is not good. That is not a good thing. I think that, I'm not a parent yet, but ideally, someone made a comment, well, why are they watching TV? They should be reading, and outside have hobbies. I think that's a good idea. Like, I do think that is something that we should be encouraging girls to do. I am very grateful for jewelry making, though I was a girly watching TV. I also, had hobbies that made jewelry. My parents had me in sports, wasn't good at. But, I was active. I did tons of things. So I think that we should encourage those type of things. I think we should encourage less screen time, less time on TikTok. That's another thing too. They might be might not even be watching, Euphoria. They could be on TikTok. That's why a lot of young girls on TikTok and stuff like that. That's why a lot of them are doing skincare stuff, because they're looking up to the older girls that need to do the skincare, or no one needs to do the skincare things, but you know what I'm saying, that are doing the skincare things, and there's not anybody in between, and that is causing girls to grow up quicker. And I mean, what can we do about that? I have been thinking about this a lot, and I'm working on something. I'm always working on something, if I'm being honest, but I am working on something specifically to help with that. But I just think about what are we missing in the middle? Especially, I think it was a year, 1 or 2 Christmases ago, when they were talking about how 8-year-olds were asking for retinol and eye creams for Christmas. And it's that's not good. It's not necessarily their fault either. That's what they're watching on TikTok. They're watching the Alex Earls, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with her and anything wrong with watching her, but she's for adults. She is not adult content, but the topic she does, the makeup she's doing. So it's just, it's just making me think we need something for these girls. And Teen Vogue dissolving into Vogue is just more of the skipping that adolescence 10 signs that this boy likes you, skipping over that to how to have the sexiest night of your life with your lover. It's not, we're missing that middle part. We got to do something about that. We have to do something about that. So some suggestions, some things that I've been thinking of, instead of just we have this problem. I'm thinking of just some things. I think that I want to recommend American Heritage Girls because I hear about them all the time. I need to do some research on them. And my church has an American Heritage Girls chapter, but groups like that I think are going to be like important. I can't specifically recommend that one, but if you have done it or if your daughter's in that, like comment below, like recommend it if it's available. I don't know enough about it to recommend it, but the idea of it, I think is just really good. I think those things are going to be important to make sure that your daughters have that tween experience. I mean, even like when I think about like the music, I don't know who like Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo. That's for me. That's maybe not necessarily me. Maybe like, but like that's not for teens. Like, what are they even listening to? You know, are there? Oh, I'll say this: Claire Leslie. I would shout out Claire Leslie. I think she is a good. She's a Christian and she does kind of like girly pop Christian music. So I think she's good. If you're trying like, oh, who should we listen to? Clara Leslie. But I think like just trying to foster like these tween experiences and older like movies, Princess Diaries, like, you know, I love that movie. Things like that. I think that having hobbies, like finding out, does she like sewing? Does she like beading? Is she really good at archery? Like, is she into boxing? Just different hobbies and things and just trying to foster that. Does she like writing a lot? If she likes writing, like what are the type of writing does she like? Does she like reading? Making sure she's reading appropriate things, kind of being on top of that, because you know the world is a lot bigger now and people don't always, you know, kids have access to things they probably shouldn't have access to. But I think just working on fostering that and then getting like at that age, everything's pretty much about being in a group. So even if starting your own group, like with other parents in your kids' school or in your neighborhood, just kind of like starting making sure like they have that tween experience. I think that's how we're going to fix it. It's like we have to do it ourselves. If the world is not going to do it around us, if everything is for tween is dissolving and becoming just adult, then we kind of have to do it ourselves, like being intentional, like fostering that. That's just my suggestion. Second thing I want to talk about. Part of the reason why Teen Vogue lost its sauce is because of some of the articles that they were doing. Let me pull up. ED Magazine did a post about this. Let me just pull it up. Here are some of the titles. A teen magazine. Abortion is normal. Abortion is common. Abortion is one of the many reproductive outcomes that nearly 1 in 4 women, as well as trans men and other non-binary people, will experience. Welcome to 101. Menstrual blood. Magic. 3 spells for your period. Then this person tweeted, Teen Vogue was one of the first places I ever got to write listen to that, more radical stories about mental health, polyamory, queerness, trans people, and more. I helped shape the identity and politics verticals back in 2017 and 2018, and seeing it ruined is nothing short of horrific. I think that like, I think I've mentioned this before in other podcasts. I think that there are a lot of people who are hurt for a myriad of reasons because adults didn't protect them, because it was the main reason. At the end of the day, people were hurt as children because adults didn't protect them. And I think because of that, they project so much onto the next generation. Cannot imagine why on earth would there be an article about polygamy in a teen girls magazine where they're talking about makeup and like how to get a boy to like me. And I'm just trying to think, like some pictures from Met Gala could be in there. Like, I just can't imagine what would be the purpose of that. And I think that, like I said, some people, adults failed them, so they're projecting things onto the next generation, and it's damaging. Not only is it damaging, like affected the brand, and I can't understand like why you would go in that direction. I can't possibly fathom that. But yeah, that's part. I mean, I certainly won't be buying that magazine. I would buy that magazine for my teen daughter if I saw those type of articles in there. I'm like, what's the purpose of that? Who is like, how is that helping shape my daughter? Not good, not good. Yeah, and I feel like I see that a lot though, like kind of talking 2 seconds about that. I feel like I see a lot of times, and especially in the ex-evangelical community, adults have wronged them. They are now adults and they have not healed, for lack of a better word, or they haven't like dealt with whatever it is, or they dealt with it and like, you know, know how I feel about like some therapists slash therapy today. And now they're like putting that onto other people, and they're hurting other people in a different way than they were hurt, because they were hurt and not protected. And, you know, at some point you have to take responsibility for your actions. But I just feel like I see that a lot. And I think you need to become self-aware of like what you're doing. I've had to become self-aware even like within friendships, like not with other people, but like within friendships, because like some experiences that I've had dating, and like a friend will ask me something, and I sometimes I'm like, you know what, I can't answer that because I don't want to put like my life experience onto the situation you're experiencing. You should probably ask somebody else. And you have to be aware of that. Like I recently just told someone that, and you have to be aware of that. But people don't like to do that. They like to go to sit at and listen to someone tell them that they're perfect, never made a mistake, and everyone else is wrong around them. Oops, did I say that? Okay, so last story is the weird science moment. OG listeners will remember this. But before that, I want to let you know that this segment is brought to you by thosearethegirls.com/merch. Yes, that's right. New merch is out. The Clothed in Strength and Dignity shirt, as well as there's a sweatshirt and a candle. And it was inspired by Proverbs 31. And this is a celebration of women as we walk in grace, confidence, and purpose. It has a beautiful, elegant rose and a cross and pearls, which are symbolizing faith, femininity, and beauty. It is a piece that can remind us that strength and dignity are always going to be in style, and you should get it. It's make a great Christmas gift, and it helps support the podcast, also support Mallory, and it is I think it'll be a perfect gift for Christmas to get all your friends. So she's clothed in strength and dignity, and you can order it at thosearethegirls.com/merch. All right, here is the weird science article that is missing. Sorry, give me 2 seconds to pull it up. Essentially, you guys, it's actually kind of crazy. Sorry, 1 second. I'm going to pull it up right now. You're going to be like, what? Okay, this is from The Guardian. All right. Human skin cells are turned into eggs in fertility breakthrough. What? Scientists say the early stage work could help older women or same-sex male couples have children. Researchers have created human eggs from skin cells, potentially transforming IVF treatments for couples with no other options. The work is at an early stage, but if scientists can perfect the process, it will provide genetically related eggs for women who are infertile because of older age, illness, or medical treatment. The same procedure could be used to make eggs for same-sex male couples. The largest group of patients who might benefit will be women of advanced age. Another group are those who have been through chemotherapy because they can affect their ability to have viable eggs. While women are expected to be the primary beneficiaries, skin cells used to make eggs need not come from potential mothers. We use female skin cells in this study, but you could use skin cells from males as well. You could make eggs for men in that way, of course. This will be applicable for same-sex couples. The work draws on cloning pioneered in the 90s at the Roseland Institute. A team led by late Ian Wilmert used somatic cell nuclear transfer to create Dolly the sheep. I'm sure you guys learned about Dolly the sheep in school. The process involved plucking the nucleus from an adult sheep cell, placing it in the egg. We don't care. The Oregon team took a similar approach by collecting skin cells from women and removing the nucleus from each. The major challenges faced was that healthy human eggs contain only 23 chromosomes. A further 23 arrive in the sperm as fertilization are needed for the fertilized egg. I think this is the absolute craziest thing, especially if that means like you can, like, men will be able to like have a child from their skin cell without procreating with the woman. That is so crazy. Also, as a reminder of all the weird science things that we've talked about, remember we talked about that heart, remember we talked about the babies and the pig heart, sorry, I just said the heart. The pig heart, remember we talked about like, it was like some sort of and we talked about the babies and like cells or something, and we discussed like what makes you a human, like when does your soul enter your body. This is just in the same like realm. So crazy. And just a reminder, like, I do not think we should be doing these things. I do not think this is ethical and moral. I think that it's best to stay away. And let me say, like, it is, I think about my fertility. I'm going to be 31, like I said, at the end of the month. I think about my fertility all the time. Not dating anyone, no prospects. It's something I think about all the time. So I'm not saying this as someone who, a lot of times people who talk about this topic are like, got married to their high school sweetheart at like 22 and got pregnant at like 23. And they have like 6 kids now. And they're like, leave it all to God. For sure. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that what they did was wrong. I'm just saying, like, sometimes, like, hearing from them is not, like, exciting. I just got the battery saver notification, so I need to wrap it up. Anyway, so I want you to know, like, fertility, I think about it all the time, but, like, this is just so clearly not, like, playing God is not good. It does not have good, bad results happen when we do these type of things. So yeah, that was your weird science moment. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you rate it. Give it 5 stars and leave comments on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening. Share with your friend. Let me know your thoughts on just the different topics we talked about. And yeah, I need to wrap up because, like I said, the notification just went on. I'm trying to think of anything else. Thank you so much for listening, and please visit shopthepinkrose.com as well as thosearethegirls.com/merch. Yeah, have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.